Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there, so please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise, we don't make money, so check it out and throw some money if you think that would be cool. Thanks.
Welcome to It Gets Weird, our comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try to make your world a little weirder. I'm Niall.
And I'm Kyle. Hey, folks, welcome to It Gets Weird. I feel like I don't normally kick episodes off like that, just welcoming listeners. Not my typical MO.
No, a lot of times you come out with a little more antagonistic energy.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, that sometimes goes behind the paywall, though. So,
yes.
But it does still happen here.
I guess I don't. Well, let me put it this way: I don't really go into these thinking, let's be an antagonist. Let's rile everybody up. It's not really my MO. But I feel like maybe we needed a little bit of a ease in this week. It's been a long week, I think, for both of us, and I think for everybody listening. So I guess that's why I kind of wanted to kick off with like a low, not low energy, but like a low stakes question that's been on my mind.
Okay. Hit me.
Okay. Niall, which cryptid do you think we're most likely to see in the Epstein files?
That's a good question.
We don't talk about the Epstein stuff too much on this show.
No.
It's getting to the point, though, for me at least, where it's kind of like hard to avoid because it's bleeding into fucking everything, and I'm starting to realize this shit's not going away. So fuck it. Who's gonna be in there, Niall? Because it's gonna be somebody at some point.
Yeah, I think. Let's see. Which cryptid has the most creep energy? Maybe some dog. I feel like you might have tried to take dog men before and like turn them into like soldiers of some kind. It seems like some that kind of like weird bullshit that would show up in there somewhere.
That's interesting. That's an interesting idea. I'm going to say something controversial, believe it or not.
Okay.
I think we're going to see some sort of, subspecies of Sasquatch in there.
Yeah.
I don't want that to be the case. I just think this is where this is headed. It's some of the people. Not that there's been like people in the files where I'm like, fuck, I really like that guy, or whatever. But I do feel like that, like, we're going to see, like, not Bigfoot, like the Bigfoot. It's going to be, like, skunk ape. Somebody that Bigfoot knows, And the conspiracy and rumor mill can just get churning on that. So I think probably it'll be just, like, the really stinky Bigfoot who sucks will probably be in there. But the problem is, by association, all the other Bigfoots, people will start being able to spin threads from that connection, however thin that might be.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't me saying that there aren't a ton of connections in the real Epstein files, because some of the shit that's in there is... Although I did think it was really funny that fucking whatever, that one guy, Normal Finkelstein or whatever... That's not his name. Norman Finkelstein was in there, but he was like saying that he wanted to throttle them or something.
Yeah, I love the couple. There's a couple weird things like that I found. Like, he fully rejected it. Someone also found Epstein's like specific. I think it was V60 recipe, like his coffee recipe for all his ratios and and flows and everything. And I saw a coffee content guy that I see on Instagram who just was like, no one else is gonna do it. I'm gonna make the Epstein brew.
Oh no!
And he was like, it's not very good.
Yeah, I think the thing that's been really remarkable in all of this is how stupid he is. Like, just very unintelligent man obsessed with. It's like the purity of his genes or whatever. Maybe we could tie that into the Bigfoot thing, because maybe they're just like stink ape, fucking the crappy stink ape, the crap ass shit ass stink ape. He was the only one who was willing to work with us because we wanted to kind of incorporate some of that DNA into our super soldier dog people that you mentioned, Niall. We're trying to create sort of a hybridization program.
Ultra cryptid.
At this point, why not? That's probably some of the shit they were working on. Because the other thing that was kind of blowing my mind, I'm realizing what I'm saying here is I feel like at some point I have to do like an Epstein thing, but I don't want to talk about all the horrific shit in any detail because it's not even really all that relevant to understanding the weird overarching shit, you know. But the things that were blowing my mind was like, there's them sending emails back and forth that would say like, yes, the potential for mass manipulation here is very interesting or whatever. And you're like, yeah, that's an insane thing for people to be emailing with Epstein about.
Have you seen, if we're going to talk about conspiracy theories here, have you seen the people trying to track that between a Reddit post and a Fortnite account that Epstein was taken out of prison before his death and is still alive? And he just had to play Fortnite so much that he logged on in 2023. So...
No, okay, I missed this. I thought this was going to be about the whole designing gambling into, children's video games thing. Which...
No, he also, he is responsible for microtransactions and also might be Q. But
all the 4chan. Look, this is what I'm talking about. Is like, look, okay. Actually, here's the truth: is there are other podcasts who are very much dedicated to, who are very good at tracking the Epstein stuff. I listen to them, and it's. I mean, it is insane. But like, Epstein with Ghislaine goes back to. This is very basic. This is Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. Back to Robert Maxwell, back to the fucking octopus, right? Like this is not going away, and it's only going to be weirder moving forward, I think. And I feel like I have to like somehow distill the shit that's been going on in a way that makes sense for our show here to be like, all right, here's how Epstein relates to X conspiracies that we've already talked about, and here's why the skunk ape's in there, folks. Anyways, I imagine.
Look, if you want to try to tackle that, I will happily let you do it. Man, it's depressing.
It is depressing. The last 7 years of the Epstein shit. It's becoming on the same level as like a JFK assassination conspiracy. It's so vital to the conspiracy landscape now. I feel an obligation.
It is maybe and I don't mean this in a positive way, but the great conspiracy of our time.
Unfortunately,
and the defining conspiracy of the moment. And it's.
Both big heavy sighs on both sides here of the screen. I can't imagine we're talking about Jeffrey Epstein this week, but
no.
Look, this is what's been on my mind, unfortunately, with all the fucking stupid news that's been out. What the hell did you bring me on our show that's very much not about Epstein?
No, we're gonna take some time and go halfway around the world and back to 1966 to talk about a UFO encounter in Australia, known as the Westall UFO incident.
Westall?
Correct.
Okay. This is
the largest mass sighting in Australia's history, and one of its, but also like has this whole suppression angle. We're gonna get into it, but this is like a pretty big one.
Okay, listener question, because I guess I could just look this up, and maybe I will. Mm-hmm. Have UFOs popped up in the Epstein files? Surely, this fucking weirdo has some bullshit about UFOs in there. That has to be in there, or aliens or whatever. Like that has to be, right? Like
I wouldn't
it crosses
be
over with so much crap.
I haven't seen anything yet.
I haven't either,
but maybe you can go. You'll go look on. Just do it. Just search the whole thing for alien. You know?
I have. There's this website. There's this insane website that somebody made that's basically recreating Google Drive, like as if you're logged into Jeffrey Epstein's account. So you can switch between the emails, all the documents and files and folders and images, and then it's an insane website.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
So that has all the stuff on there as far as I know, but so I'll see if I can find any aliens in there. But
yeah. All right. Well, we're going to talk about the Westall UFO. So a lot of the stuff that I took here comes from a couple people. Specifically, there's a writer named Bill Chalker who worked for New Dawn magazine and now runs a pretty, basically one of the most extensive websites dedicated to Australian UFO sightings. Called that is where a good chunk of this came from. It's called the ozfiles.blogspot.com.
Oh my God! You know what? I think I've been to that. What's You said New Dawn?
Yeah, New Dawn magazine is where a lot of the original writing of his writing on this came from.
That sounds very familiar. I think maybe I've run across that at some point. But that's cool. This is a relatively unexplored area for us. We've definitely been. Honestly, though, if you look at all our episodes, Australia's come up more often than you would think. I'm thinking there's been a couple ghost stories there, some good ones. There was there's the weird like U.S. military base that was there that had UFO sightings.
Yeah, and then there's also the I did in my dumb era, they have a massive like radar dish base
that's
there
right.
that I talked about that is tied to like some underground military base stuff.
And
for
also,
our sort of drop bears.
Yes, and for our fresher listeners, Niall's not saying in my dumb era where I was going dumb as fuck or whatever. It means DUMB, deep underground military base. That's a dumb. I'm gonna let you keep going, but I kind of want to just look at how many times Australia's popped up, because I think the last one was Maureen Putty, the abductee.
Sure.
That I covered a little while back.
Bill Chalker, and then there's a documentary called Westall 66 that's made by a guy named Shane Ryan, who did a lot of research into it as well. So those are the big sources for this episode, and then various other things filled in, but that's most of it, because like Shane Ryan kind of defined this story in the modern times. Like his documentary came out in 2010. And now has become kind of the de facto touch point for a lot of the website coverage of this, but there is a lot of previous stuff as well out there that you can find. So,
I just wanted to throw out there. I looked at it, and it was the base was Pine Gap. I think the whole thing was that it gets referred to as the Area 51 of Australia. But also we talked about the Bunyip. Who could forget the Bunyip? That's a beloved cryptid who would, I don't think you would ever, I think that's the Norman Finkelstein of cryptids, because if you emailed that guy, he'd be like, oi, fuck off, cunt. Sorry, that I can say that because that's Australian. But then, I can't believe I didn't immediately think of this. Tom and Shud.
Oh, sure.
Which is like, I think, our first dive into an Australian story. And also kind of like our first episode with the Dyatlov Pass, where there is supposedly a mundane explanation for what happened there, where the guy washes up, on the shore with no identification, and like I think the tags on his clothes are torn off and stuff, and this mysterious note in his pocket. That's a great story that I think, much like the Dyatlov Pass, was like a reason for us to start talking about these weird stories, because we were like the Dyatlov Pass before we started doing a podcast. We were both fascinated, I think, by that story. So yeah. So this is this takes place in the town of Clayton South in southeast, which is southeast of Melbourne, and it's called the Westall sighting because of basically the fact that supposedly over 200 people saw this were like witnesses of this incident, and most of them came from Westall High. So it was seen by mostly students and faculty of this school, and so most of the stuff takes place around there. Now, can I tell you a little thing that I learned about Australian, something sort of culturally that I didn't know?
Sure.
So I recently watched a sort of interview with the members of Tropical Fuckstorm.
Sure.
One of the greatest bands out there right now, offshoot of the Drones, another one of the greatest bands, which you and I both love. And they were saying something to the effect of, and if I get this wrong, Australian listeners, I know you're out there. Please feel free to let us know. We do have a couple who have shown up in our email. They made it sound like they were saying this thing that made it sound like the way we think of the people in the South of the United States as kind of being hickish, I guess, right?
Sure.
That's what Australians apparently think of people in the North.
Interesting.
So it's sort of like a toilet versed going backwards situation. It's in the opposite direction from the United States.
So yeah, it's because. Which that makes sense, because I think a lot of the population centers are in South, and then there's like a lot of nothing
backwoods, and
then small outposts and towns and stuff. Okay, sure,
So
that would
fun
track.
fact,
Now Melbourne, I think, is towards the south. I'm not 100% certain. I honestly, I'm. That's just my understanding. I did not actually look at a map of Australia when researching this. Sometimes you forget like the basic stuff when you're like I was trying to find individual like quotes from people who saw it, and I forgot to look at a map of Australia.
And sometimes sometimes you forget some stuff like that, or then you're like me, somebody mentions Australia and you're like, right, that is a place that exists on Earth. I forgot about that. No offense to people in Australia. I would love to visit Australia someday. We said this in like the Maureen Putty episodes and stuff. Yeah, Australia seems fucking cool. So,
I had a cousin that spent quite a bit of time there in college.
Hell yeah.
He had like an exchange family that he would go and like hang out with and stuff.
So sick.
Loved it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is, like I said, this is Australia's largest mass UFO sighting. And it is also, but it's weird that it's not more known, like, because and that goes to the whole suppression angle, which we will talk a lot about. But this one is kind of surprising how little I was able to find. Like I found enough and everything, but like you would think that there would be so many fucking accounts of this, Yeah. I don't know.
Well, we did, when you talk about, for instance, the 52 flap in the United States, which I think you could point to as historically maybe the biggest UFO event that's ever happened here, really. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
there's singular, like, 1 or 2 night events where something really big happens, a lot of witnesses or whatever. But, like, 1952, that's where, like, people across the country saw it. So you get accounts from across the country, and they're kind of their own stories. So, you know, you would imagine, if you're talking about the biggest UFO event in Australia, something kind of like that. So, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Anyway, that's just a thing that I just kept coming across, like, the same thing over and over again, and when that happens, I'm always just kind of like, oh, what's going on, people? Anyway, all right, so this takes place on April 6th, 1966. This is just a very standard day at a high school in the suburbs. Students were going into class. They had their morning classes, and all of a sudden they were about to take, they said, their first break of the day. I don't know if they have like 2 recess periods or something, like shorter ones. They were about to do a break where kids go outside, when kids looked out the windows and saw a flying saucer of some kind, a UFO, in the distance, over an area that's called like Grain. I've got it, the Grange something, and I saw there's an account that takes place in the documentary that I thought was really funny, because they're in this telling of it. They do these like kind of charcoal animations, looking like black and white charcoal drawing animations for stuff, and like a kid is like, oh my god, look at that, and the kids all try to get up and go, and the teacher's like, it's not time for break yet, you've got to sit back down. And makes the kids all sit back down when there's a UFO out the window.
Not possible.
Yeah.
I'm fucking diving out the window to go chase that thing down if I'm one of the kids.
Yeah, so then they, the break happens and all the kids run out to go take a look at this thing. And this was around 11 a.m. is when they went out for their break. And one of the student eyewitnesses was quoted saying, "We were out playing sport on the oval," which I guess is like a term for like fields, like where they play like cricket and stuff.
You can tell it's not the United States because they're playing sport on the oval.
Yeah, I saw people referring it to going out and playing on the ovals and the quadrangles, and I was like, I don't know. Luckily, I was able to use context clues to figure out that's what they were calling fields. But that's, I love, look, it's kind of a trope, but Australia has like some of the cooler slang, like weirder, like more interesting slang for anything. So I love coming across it. But one of the kids yelled out, look up in the sky, it's flying saucers. And I remember we all looked up, and it really was a flying saucer. So that was most of these kids were like 13 at the time that they saw these things, like between like 12 and 14 or something like that. Like they were, it's that kind of age. So you'll see a lot of kind of variations or at least like 4 or 5 variations of the story, depending on kind of when it's from and who's telling it. Because in a couple of them, all these kids run out, and there's like a girl or 2 girls that are the first ones and like the fastest, and they get out there, and either it's the one girl or the 2 girls, they faint and like pass out as soon as they get close to the UFOs. And this is it's most commonly just one girl, so we're gonna go with that. But so the girl runs up, gets close to it before anyone else, passes out, and is just comatose. And then after the whole thing ends, she's taken off in an ambulance, and then either, depending on the story, moves away immediately afterward, or just is never seen again. Oh. And I could not verify that as being a part of it, but that is just in a couple of the accounts, but not in a lot of the first-hand accounts.
Okay. So you're saying that accounts that are not from people who are directly there will claim that this person was carted off and either disappeared or moved away. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
And so like it shows up a lot that there is a girl that fainted and then was never seen again. But I could not verify that with firsthand sources.
Yeah.
So take that. That seems like a bit of an apocryphal dramatization.
Yeah. This is all kind of giving aerial school. In,
A little bit, yeah.
What was that? South Africa, I think.
Yes. Yeah,
Just a bunch of kids at school seeing a UFO and it having a an intense effect on them. But I'm trying to think of fainting before a UFO. That feels a little new, or at least like relatively unique.
I mean, people get like, missing time happens.
Sure, or you get
I guess
paralyzed,
you could say, yeah. So I think like it's kind of in that realm, but it passing out is a slight difference.
Sure, but it's also only a couple people, right? Like, so you'd think that if this was some sort of, I guess what I'm saying is it almost sounds like it's not some force from the UFO itself. It's maybe a reaction to seeing a UFO. Or are they trying to say that the UFO beamed these children directly?
Well, okay, so there's, not to get too far ahead, but there is a kind of dark explanation as to if this actually happened, and the explanation for it that I don't fully believe is true. Then okay, so much like a lot of other UFOs sightings, there are these different explanations for what happened. One of them is a specific type of balloon called a highball, which is used for radiation detection. And this area where this takes place is not entirely far away from a British nuclear weapons testing site. And so there were...
No.
Yeah. But so if a bunch of other shit is happening, it could technically have... I don't think that's what happened. I think that the girl is apocryphal. But like, if you want to play conspiracy connect the dots, you can make a dark story out of that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what it is.
That's very fair. It is, though, like, it is my favorite explanation for cattle mutilation and cow abduction in the folklore surrounding UFO. That is far and away my favorite thing. That, like, black helicopters misidentified as alien UFOs are carting off cows to, bisect them and figure out, what the radiation in the desert's doing to them or whatever. That is maybe my favorite explanation, but it's less I almost said it was less entertaining when it's children involved, but like it also really sucks that cows would be killed for that purpose as well. Like, obviously children, it's like on another level, but like hopefully it's not happening at all. But like, also we know that like there's a bunch of radiation out in these like testing sites from the early, Cold War and stuff, or not Cold War, World War II. So this entire encounter takes place over the course of approximately 20 minutes. The kids all run out. Maybe a girl faints, but they see this thing and it's flying. It's relatively low over the ground. It's not like super high up or anything. They're getting a pretty good view of it. It looks like it looks basically like a flying saucer, but a little more angular. But it kind of has the dome and then the bit on top. Which I always just in my mind imagine as the cockpit, right?
Yeah, exactly. it has that general shape. And I saw a couple... Okay. So, over the course of this, it has at least 2 craft. Depending on the account, there's between 1 and 3 UFOs seen here that are all the same. The most common version, I believe, has 2. But there are places that will cite 3 or just a single one. I don't exactly know why that would be. But... So basically, one goes over, and then when they crest this kind of hill, the other, if there's any other craft, they get joined there, and they see them kind of touch down in this area over kind of a distance away that I have the name of here. It's the Grange Reserve. Okay. So the thing touches down in this area known as the Grange Reserve, which is kind of next to the yards of the school. And then when the kids get closer, it takes off and disappears in the distance really fast. So that's the entirety of the encounter, unless you also get... There's reports in a lot of the sightings of at least five military or sometimes non-military planes that will chase after the UFO. And so in that version, those planes kind of scare off the UFO and send it hurtling off into the distance and disappearing. But in a lot of the accounts, there are planes that follow this thing that people think are military.
So which accounts bring up this aspect of the story?
Most of them. The planes are in most of them, depending on where you look at it. Some people say military, some people will say civilian, but most of them believe it's military.
Oh, sorry, this just reminded me something that's like sort of unrelated, but
Sure.
I'm going to ask... I probably should have asked Garrett. I'm realizing this right now. Garrett would probably have an answer to what I'm about to ask. But check this out. I was driving down the highway the other day, and there were two helicopters that were lit up. And they were, flying overhead. In between those two helicopters was a third helicopter that had all of its lights just completely shut off. So it was like they were escorting it.
Sure.
Which I'd never seen before, but I was like, why would this happen? I was like, why would there be a helicopter that was functional up in the sky with absolutely no lights on? Like, why would that happen? It was weird. And I made note of it, and I'm asking listeners, do you think they're chasing UFOs perhaps, or... Like, does this thing I'm picturing in my mind like these two flanking helicopters with their lights on are sort of like they're like prepping the slingshot for UFO pursuit. It's like, we're gonna provide the light coverage so that planes know where you are, and then we're gonna go, and then the copter with its lights off splits off and chases an alien around somewhere. Maybe
sure,
I don't know. But somebody out there probably knows.
In that, what are the... Why does
it's a strategic
why
thing?
Does the helicopter? Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's a strategy for the helicopters to be visible in the sky for other aircraft until the point of time where they have to depart and send the stealth copter off towards the UFO so they don't spook it.
Okay. All right.
That's what I'm
get your
picturing.
thinking.
So,
sure.
I'm sure there's a perfectly mundane explanation, but it was weird enough that I made note of it, and I'm curious. Somebody out there probably knows, like Garrett.
Yeah. I really hope it's not a like a fucked up reason. Like, oh yeah, that was a total that's a kill squad.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. In this day and age, it's entirely possible that was the kill squad of helicopters, and but I would like to know.
Yeah. So when the kids finally made it to Grange Reserve, where these UFOs were, they found circles where the craft were hovering above, kind of crop circle-y type indentations, and there was... So in a lot of places they just leave it at that there are these indentations, and if you look at the UFO reporting at the time, people will complain about not having enough direct information about these. In 1966, they were like, people didn't take enough data on these circles when it happened, so we don't know exactly what they were. But there's certain accounts that describe it as not being like singed or burned, but instead looking like it was boiled. The grass was like boiled or cooked.
What? How do you determine boiled?
I asked the exact same question.
Yeah. It's a good question.
Don't know. I just imagine a bunch of grass like cooked like kale in a soup, you know, where
Yeah,
it's like
does it
kind
turn
of
into
wilty
spinach?
and shiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that kind of thing.
I guess
I
it's-
don't know.
Could be it.
I don't know what made that. Like, there aren't a lot of good photos of any of this stuff. Partly because let's just get into it. So, like I said, this thing took place over about 20 minutes. 20 minutes after this, supposedly some guys in suits showed up and started to control the situation. So the kids were back in class, and they had an assembly called by the headmaster, who supposedly was talked to by some of these individuals, and they were basically told not to talk about what happened there.
Okay.
And
Men in Black came to their school.
Yep. And not only that, but there was a teacher that had been taking photos that day and had a camera, and the agents supposedly, the people in suits supposedly threatened her and took her camera and the film and everything, and were said there was a place that said, quoted that one of the people, I think it was the person, it might have been the teacher whose camera got taken, as saying that the guys in the suits said, "This is my camera now." Basically, like they literally just like took her, like, "This is ours now. You can't have it back. Tough luck." And took all that with them. So there's not a lot of direct evidence.
It's funny because also relatively recent in the timeline here, we did the Men in Black episode revisit.
Yep.
And like you can see, I think in the 60s you can still feel in a lot of places this idea of like more classical G-men who are threatening you and being intimidating, as opposed to the more supernatural thing that's about to sort of become a part of the Men in Black mythos. So, you know, this is it sounds more like a sort of G-man encounter than like some sort of paranormal entity.
Yeah, there are also some places that talk about some soldiers in like blue uniforms, which weren't a thing in the Australian military at the time, but were a thing for the United States Air Force.
Okay. Sure.
So there's like there's a lot of differing information, but basically most people agree that some people who claimed authority came and suppressed the shit out of this.
Well, something else interesting in the Men in Black space that we didn't really get into in either of our episodes is there is a I don't know, like subgenre of Men in Black, especially in the early days, where they sort of show up as impersonating military personnel.
Yeah.
So that also fits that, like, in either way, you're in a fucking Men in Black scenario, you know?
Yep.
I guess that's
So
Men in Blue, but
true. There's specifically a teacher named Andrew Greenwood, who was a science teacher at the time.
oh, guitarist for Radiohead, right?
Yeah. And he claimed that he on the day claimed, like, when these people came to the school, he claimed that he kind of talked back and had kind of some, he was going to talk basically, and they said that they would specifically basically say that he was an alcoholic and slander him in the press and get his job taken away.
Wow.
Basically.
Oh, okay.
So they threatened him to completely shut it down and not talk about it anymore. He did eventually, I think, talk about it like years later. But so this did get picked up with various newspapers at the time to varying degrees. There was one within like a day or two of the encounter that took it very serious, like took it as like a big thing. And, students at school see UFO, mysterious object in the sky, do a whole thing about it. And then there are some that take it and are like, oh, look at these weirdos seeing dumb shit in the sky. Like there were some that were dismissive, but there were some people that took it seriously.
And that's the headline. Look at these weirdos seeing dumb shit in the sky.
No, the one that gets talked about was on the 14th of April, and the headline was "Flying Saucer Mystery: School Silent," and that was in the Dandenong Journal. But there was another newspaper in the area that like basically was like, you know, a bunch of students, mass hysteria kind of thing, you know.
Mm-hmm. It's the same.
But
It's the same. It's the aerial school thing too. That was
Yeah.
one of the sort of lame, hyper skeptical explanations. Was that it was just mass hysteria.
Yeah, and that wasn't okay. So there are places that claim there wasn't an official story, and I think, like in terms of a government, you know, thing, a story that was put out. But most places claim that the highball balloon is the official story. Basically, that is the prevailing theory. But then when you look into them, like first of all, it's debatable. There may or may not have been a test that was supposed to take place with a highball balloon on that date, but there's no accounting for it in any logs anywhere, supposedly. And so there's like no reporting of this test ever actually having happened. And also the highball balloons don't really look exactly the way that the students saw this thing. And so basically there's a lot of kind of contentious stuff around the highball balloon. People treat it a lot like the weather balloon stories from the American UFO stuff, where it's just like that is the official cover-up explanation, is this balloon test stuff that is a radiation balloon instead of a weather balloon.
Well, wasn't that even the like official explanation for Roswell was like Project Mogul, which I think was a balloon thing.
Yeah.
So like even Roswell, maybe the most famous phrase, name, location, whatever in UFO history, has a sort of, you know, I think an actual declassified piece of writing on Project Mogul, right? So
Yeah.
that is kind of interesting that there's not actually any information on that.
Yeah, that's one of the things with the Westall 66 documentary is him looking into a lot of like military records and stuff, because he looks for the 5 pilots, you know, the people that were flying the planes that supposedly followed this thing. He also was looking for, you know, information about those balloons and stuff, and was not getting a lot of information. But he put forth, I don't know if he wasn't the first one, because this theory was actually first posited around the time of the encounter. But he brought it back basically that there was a secret military craft that was being tested, and the balloon was the cover story effectively. And so that is kind of, among conspiracy theorists, that is kind of now the prevailing theory. Among everybody else, it's the highball balloon. But that might be the cover story.
But there's precedent for that.
Yep.
I think it was. I'm going to confirm this, but it was like, we've had multiple spy planes and secret, you know, like jet technology or whatever during the Cold War that were, I think, sort of covered up by UFO stories in a sense. Like, I think it was, what was it called? It was called Oxcart, I think. Again, this is something that the nerds, and I know we have nerds at least in our Discord who will be able to pick out the exact, you know, planes we were developing and the actual names of the projects. But anyways, people out there know what we're talking about. There is a precedent for that, so that's not that crazy to conceive of that as being what happened. But yeah, who knows?
Oh, here's the dismissive headline that I was trying to pull earlier. It was UFO all hot air, and then the subheadline is Westall was a balloon. So they very quickly got the balloon theory out there.
This motherfucker thought they were so clever.
Yeah. So that was in the Melbourne Herald Sun. It was where that one came from. Yeah, so this is basically. I found this. Bill Chalker has this whole thing where he takes one of these articles that claiming that it was a balloon and goes through and like annotates it, which is always really fun because it's just like refuting each paragraph. Mm-hmm. Do you ever find those things?
Yeah, I love that.
Like, I remember when I found I was doing I think the first Flat Earth episode, and there was somebody who just went through that like 100 points for Flat Earth article thing and just one by one refuted every single one of them, and I was just reading it and it was like I love pettiness and conspiracy theory stuff.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I like when someone just is like takes the extra step to be a fucking hater.
Yeah. Well, and like, to be fair here, UFO stuff gets a lot of shit and a lot of like really dismissive and shitty responses from official investigations. Like, think the Michigan swamp gas incident,
yeah.
You know, or like multiple instances of weather inversions and balloons. It's so it does make, I think that gives you a little bit more of an excuse to be petty, but in the conspiracy realm with like Flat Earth, it's like 10 times funnier because you don't have as much of an excuse to be such a petty shithead. But yeah. It comes up a lot in the very fringe, often right-wing realm of conspiracy theorizing like that. It's people get very petty, and it is very entertaining.
Yeah. I love when I find fucking drama in these circles. Okay, so Bill Chalker goes through and kind of talks through why the highball theory doesn't really fully work. So we're going to go through a little bit of this just because that is the most common explanation for it that you will find. So the highball program was not actually in... So a lot of the official reports claim that this was a secret thing at the time and no one knew about it, and so that was why it was kind of being hushed. But the highball program was actually a known quantity at the time. It got declassified in 1965, and this thing took place in 66. So there was reports circulating in the time period that this thing was existing. So it doesn't really need to be top secret at that point. They also there was no official documents that they could find. They looked in 2014 back to all the way to 1966 that refer to an actual highball launch at that time. In like it
lines up with the.
Yeah, there is no documentation of a highball launch on the 5th or 6th of April 1966.
Oh, okay.
So, yet again, it could be secret, whatever. But that is his counter for that. He also didn't. There's also no flight path for those 5 planes that followed this thing. So there's no like record of any of it.
So they tried to dig up records of planes in that exact spot, and there was nothing at all.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and like it just keeps going. He has. This is one of those things where you can write anything to make your opinion sound like the smart one, and I think there is some of that here. That there's
it's an
not
air
all...
that's being put on. Maybe that's.
Yeah, but I also think that like the highball explanation doesn't fully work for me. So like I at least am like I'm pretty open to hearing it.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not certain he's telling me the facts 100% correctly. You know?
Yeah. He might be a little biased, is what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah. So they went out and if you look up Chalker's stuff on the Oz blog, he went out to the sites of all this stuff with some of the witnesses, and he has like drawings and sketches that they were that he did on site of what it looked like and everything, which are pretty cool to look at. So I recommend checking out his website if you have any interest in this case, because he's got some cool stuff about it. So the last kind of thing that goes into this is that there has been no official governmental acknowledgement of the incident, really. Like they acknowledge that it happened, that people, but like not the military part of it or the suppression side of it. It's just this. There's like a park next door to the, like in that Grange in the Grange area reserve, but it has like a UFO climbing gym and stuff on it, but
that's
there's
awesome.
Yeah, like it's kind of cool. There are pictures of it online if you look up there's like a plaque for this thing, but there's also not like so there is acknowledgement of it, but there's not ever like a lot of official documentation about it, you know? It's weird. So yeah, in 2010, Shane Ryan put out a documentary called Westall 66, which you can find for free on YouTube if you just look that up on there. What's weird about the video is that it plays the documentary like 1 3/4 times. I maybe to like get it past, but there are multiple versions of it on there that are the same way. So I don't know what that's about, but it's interesting to watch. Like he goes through a lot of the places, talks to a lot of the witnesses, so you can hear a lot of firsthand accounts. And he puts forth the kind of, you know, the secret military craft theory in there, and I think that there could very well be something to that. It seemed this thing had commercial breaks, so it seemed like it was maybe made for some sort of television station or something. But it's become kind of the it's become kind of the main source for this kind of encounter. You know,
I try to resist nostalgia. I often fail, like so many of us. But I do think that one nostalgia point I won't concede on is that there is not enough goofy alien stuff like little green men in a classic flying saucer, like what you described with the jungle gym that had a flying saucer. There should be more things like that all over the place. That is the one point that we must RETVRN to. We must return to, you know, kitschy alien memorabilia and things like that. That, like, basically the little alien and stuff and all the things around, all the bullshit surrounding Roswell. Just put that everywhere, because I'll be happy to see it anytime I run across it. Although I guess then the novelty starts to wear off after some time. It should appear more often, but maybe not be so ubiquitous. But I want it to appear more often where, like, every once in a while I run into, I'm like, oh, that's a cute alien thing that I like.
Yeah, I do think there is something to, like, oversaturation.
Yeah.
But I also I don't know. It would be fun. Where was the we watched, oh, was it Gilbert? Not Gilbert. Shit.
You and me, or
Bobcat Goldthwait's Sasquatch movie.
Yes.
Where there's the like truck stop that's
Yes.
like a Bigfoot truck stop with like really elaborate fucking theming. I would love more of those, you know?
Yes, 100%. A Bigfoot truck stop. It's like America's finest export. Like, we have to have more of that, frankly. Not too much more, but there should be more, and there should be varying themes. I think, in fact, I think it should be state-funded arts, where you turn one truck stop in your state, it themed around a relevant cryptid UFO or something paranormal, whatever, in your state. That you have to have one that people can go to as they drive through your state. It has to. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules.
Sasquatch would have more homes than Lincoln that for states, you know.
Sasquatch already does have more homes than Lincoln. Let's be real here.
True. Lincoln has no claim to Mount Shasta.
No. Although Niall, you saying that makes me want to develop some sort of conspiracy theory about Lincoln's spirit haunting Mount Shasta, and maybe working in tandem with the spiritual Sasquatch entities that also live there, with the Lemurians or whatever.
Yeah.
That could be fun.
Fantastic. So another thing that I was very happy to have watched the documentary. He points out that there were a couple other like very kind of minor UFO sightings in the area within the days previous to this encounter. There's one where a guy was like driving down the road and he saw a kind of almost like crystalline looking UFO in the woods and almost like hit a tree. And he only reported this when he then found out, this is unfortunately sad, a couple days later, a kid died from running into that same tree. So he then talked about his sighting, seeing this weird thing because synchronicity in that way.
No.
Yeah, so there's like, and then there was another one that didn't really get expanded upon that much, but they say that there are a couple minor UFO sightings in the area, so there's kind of this pattern. Like this happens so like it's really common for people to have there to be like little UFO sightings leading up to the major one.
Yeah.
Do you run across that?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of that stuff sort of starts to come into view in retrospect surrounding a bigger UFO event with more witnesses. It makes sense. Like but
Yeah.
it is funny to think of it as like the herald of the big event, because I don't think it necessarily works that way. You know what I mean? Like it's more like, oh, these are relevant now because the big event happened. You know?
Yeah. Now, this is a thing that they seem to have happened early enough that the stories were in the papers by April 6th. I don't have exact dates on the other ones, but there were places that referred to it as being like basically places that put forward that this was mass hysteria, claimed that the idea of UFO encounters was in the air in the area the day of this thing, and so all the students got whipped up into a frenzy and thought they saw something in the sky together, and it was just mass hysteria.
Yeah.
So, like, that doesn't fully work. Like, that also doesn't really work for me in my research into this. It seems. I honestly, like, maybe it's just the cynicism of doing this podcast for this long, but secret government craft that they don't want you to know about makes more sense to me.
Sure. No, I
especially like there's an air base, like an airport,
of course,
pretty close by called
a military outpost of some kind.
No, it's just an but it's like an airstrip.
Okay. That is also the other thing that's sort of depressing, is like I remember seeing a map. I guess not depressing, but it is like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Where like I saw a map where there was UFO sightings being marked on the map and being cross-referenced with proximity to airports, and it's like it overlaps so much. And but I was just thinking, like, you absolutely have to do that with military bases, because that's just as relevant as if not more relevant in a way than airports. And so, you know, yeah, that is a pretty mundane possibility, but like you have to incorporate that into your, if you want to look at the entire event in its whole, in its fullness. Like you should so I'm glad you mentioned it.
So there's a place called Moorabbin Airport somewhat close by. This is actually, what's fun about this is that first is posited as part of this in a thing called the Clayton Calendar, which is the Westall High Journal that published a theory in 1966 that it was some sort of secret craft being flown out of Moorabbin Airport.
Okay.
And that was then later, that same account was then republished in the Australian Flying Saucer Review, and led to some research by the Victorian Flying Saucer Research Society, who tried to come across, and they were the ones that were the first to complain about people not doing enough like documentation of the circles and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, they talked about how that there had already been some similar kind of paranormal events happening near Moorabbin, including the disappearance of Frederick Valentich in 1978.
Oh. Yeah, okay. I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to get this thought out before I forget. And I also want to preface it by saying I don't want this to sound like, woohoo, America #1 or whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I hear about these stories from other places in the world about UFOs, especially in this time period in like 50s and 60s, I think to myself, well, you hear this organization that's a UFO, watchdog, like probably community level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And them complaining about people not taking, samples and pictures and stuff. On the one hand, I get that. On the other hand, there's also just this sense that I have of like the rest of the world is kind of, this is probably wrong. In fact, I would love for this to be wrong.
Yeah.
And maybe an Australian who knows more about this than I do can help me out here. I sometimes get the sense that like other places are lagging behind in UFO like research and documentation methodology in this early era. Not because it's not possible or whatever, but because it's such a huge fucking deal over here, and I get the impression it's not as big of a deal in other places because it's not happening as often. Again, I'm totally open to being completely wrong here, and I would and I don't know the history of Australian UFO research and ufology and stuff very well. Something I would like to correct. Yeah. So I'm curious.
Actually might be an interesting episode looking at the history of ufology in various countries.
I think it's worth doing a comparative analysis of UFO research, how it happens, what the organizations look like across the world, because it's a global thing.
It does.
I want to know. I want to know. It's. I think that would be really good. Can I also just get a little what's the word? A little corny.
Sure.
I don't know, corny, whatever. I'm being sincere. I love UFOs. I love UFOs and aliens. I love this shit.
Yeah.
I still love it. Maybe more now than ever. And so I just feel like I haven't said that before, or at least not in a long time. And I just wanted to say, I'm listening to this story, and I love UFOs. This shit's awesome. So
it rules. Yeah, I also really like
I love the stories.
It's fun that there are still cool new ones to find.
Yes.
I go in and out of it with certain things over the course of 10 years, but the fact that I'm still finding stories that I'm like, ooh, that's cool. Like, there's little cool stuff there. There, it's delightful. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, tell you what, here's another even better podcast listener provocation or question or whatever. People who are not in the United States listening to our show, first of all, that's awesome. You're awesome. Yeah. Second of all, I want to know if you are privileged to any information about domestic UFO research and like community organizing around UFO investigation and ufology. Like I know that stuff's available online too, but it can't hurt to ask people who might be outside of the country what they know. So I feel like I got a good picture of some British stuff because they come up a lot, like Bufora and all that. Like there's a lot there, and we also there's kind of a back and forth between America and Britain in certain stories too, where like there are researchers in contact across the pond, as it were. So I have a better picture of that. Could probably learn more, but hey, Australia, China. I know there's some crazy shit in China. I've seen glimpses of it, and it's really cool. But I don't know very much. I just I straight up have a thing bookmarked that's about Chinese ufology that I have been wanting to talk about for a while, but don't feel like I know enough to talk about it yet. So please, Get at me. Get at us.
Hell yeah. So yeah, I that's like most of it. There's a bunch of little scattered just tidbits and stuff that like there's some story in Westall 66 where someone was like in an office with the headmaster and her and two of these agents, and they were like actively threatening everybody.
Jeez.
Like it but so, you know, there's like little things like that, but it really is just like a weirdly mass UFO sighting that has a lot of sniffings of government suppression about it. That's probably some sort of military airplane.
Sure. That's, I mean, I'm open to the idea. You know I'm open to the idea. It's an interesting story. Can you also imagine if here in 2026 in our schools we called our principals headmasters? And how many high schoolers would just have endless material with that term?
Yeah.
I shudder to think.
I mean, it's funny how I don't know if this makes any sense. Remember how like at a certain time boner didn't mean an erection?
Yeah. Yes.
And so there's a bunch of historical stuff that like headmaster feels like that to me, where like when that was created, that probably wasn't what that meant.
Yeah.
But now it does.
Well,
so it's really weird to still use it.
You know, head can mean, you know, a couple different things. Boner's kind of boiled down to mean exactly one thing at this point.
You don't still use it for when you make a blunder?
No, but maybe it's time to bring that back.
Should we try to bring that back?
Yeah.
We're bringing boner back.
Bring boner back, and I'm going to recommend everybody try it in a business setting or like a work environment. Please try that out and get back to us also. Say, here's my email about, I'm from Brazil. Here's what I know about our UFO organizations. Tried the boner thing. Got fired. But it was worth a try, don't you think?
Don't get fired, people.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, do you want to take care? Do you want to do a big question?
Yes, I would love to take care to do a big question.
Look, I almost said the wrong thing. It happens. Now, I built this big question upon this was a fun one to write. A side story that people may or may not be following of this podcast has been your increased interest in cooking and baking. So I wanted to kind of take advantage of that, along with the idea of the weird detail of the grass looking like boiled grass, and just ask for you to come up with a dish inspired by the Westall UFO sighting.
It's going to be a spinach soup.
Okay.
It's going to be a spinach soup. You're going to want to wilt the spinach in garlic, and just a splash of water first, and then mix that into your soup. Gosh, what other elements? Because you kind of just gave me wet grass. So that that represents the wet grass first of all.
Yeah.
But here. Ooh, okay. We're gonna also, before we incorporate the wet grass spinach, which is what we're calling it.
Sure.
We are going to make.
I'm imagining a theme restaurant for UFO stuff that it has like, you know, cheekily named things that are referencing. And it's wet grass spinach.
Yeah, wet grass spinach. Oh, sorry. Which one is this in reference to? You don't remember the wet boiled grass from the Westall UFO case? Because most people around here know all about that.
Yeah, it's a detail everyone loves.
You'd have to call it Westall wet grass soup, which is only slightly less confusing. So
it also is not appetizing.
No, it's really not appetizing. That's true, but I'm sure we could. Okay, I think this is going to be some sort of egg drop soup, and to me, the egg sort of represents the pettiness of Chalker in his analysis of. You know, he's dropping his points and turning it into some sort of messy, soupy mix. Also, because I've been really wanting to try making an egg drop soup. It just sounds really good.
Oh yeah.
So your broth base is going to be like an egg drop soup, but we're gonna incorporate spinach into that to have the element of the wet grass. But how do we finish this off? Maybe it's served to you with threatening legal documents telling you to give up your, camera.
Sure. Maybe. I was thinking like a UFO of rice in the center.
Ooh, okay, that would be good. Yeah, like a UFO of rice could be good. Rice with eggs and spinach. That actually sounds banging. I'm going to be honest with you. That sounds really good.
Yeah.
This is actually so synergistic with our relatively recent episode where we talked about how to do soup challenges. So maybe somebody could make this and do a soup challenge with it, because the soup challenge is ongoing until I say it's over. So
I think you're currently beating me. I mean I had more like stewed beans today. Not really soup.
I'm trying to think if I had soup recently. But I
did use beef broth though, so like I guess
that's true. Oh, you know what I did?
It kind of functions.
You know what I did make is I made a Mexican vegetarian casserole that was incredible.
Oh,
and I dipped.
Cool.
I brought it to a little shindig with a couple vegetarians, and they were like, "There's nothing better in life than getting positive reviews for your cooking, frankly." And the vegetarians
really good.
were all like, "Kyle, we'd eat this for a meal. Like this is amazing." So I was very excited about that. So let me see if I can maybe cook up a little wet grass soup and make something out of that, because I here's the thing. First of all, thank you so much for incorporating my love of cooking into the show. That's been an ongoing thing.
Look, I was trying to find a new way to put a spin on asking a question about UFOs.
I get it.
After a time, you gotta branch out.
I get it. I have entered the phase where I feel very confident in experimenting with making my own concoctions, and so that Mexican casserole, that was just kind of. I didn't do a recipe or anything. I just kind of...
You were just freeballing it?
I was freeballing it, yeah. And it worked. It worked really well. So maybe maybe there's something to wet grass soup.
That was one of the things that took some time when Jules and I got together. She was always a cook to a recipe person. She was very like... And I would just... like we'd be going to cook and I would just start doing stuff.
Yeah.
And not really be following a recipe. And... it would freak her out, and we had to she had to stop me a couple times to be like, no, we have to work together and do,
I think there is something to be said for following the recipe to a T, especially if it's the first time you make that dish. This is just a cooking podcast. I mean, I'm probably not. Look, I'm a total novice amateur. Like, I don't know anything about cooking, really. I just have been doing it for a while now and enjoy it. And definitely when I do a recipe for the first time, I just follow that recipe. But if I feel like after having eaten it, it could have used something, I'll go crazy with it. I'll get a little nuts.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And anytime you remake a thing, you can always tweak it.
Oh, yeah.
I tweak most things most times.
I don't know if I've made the same chili setup twice in my life now. That's the point I've gotten to with, or at least in the last couple of years. Although, I will say, now, you shared with me and a couple friends the 420 Boner Awesome chili or whatever you called it. And that does serve as sort of a foundation for chili.
Yeah, it's still the core recipe that I started with, that I named in college. I think the first time I made it, I was drunk in college and I named it. And that's what you do.
Yeah, there's a recipe that goes around the friend group called the 420 Awesome Boner chili or something like that. So it's... people kept that name.
Cool. I was so cool.
No, it's good. I like it. It's a good name for chili. And here's the thing: whenever it gets shared to other people, because Niall, that recipe gets shared to people you don't know through friends.
Oh yeah,
and it gets shared as the 420 Awesome Boner chili, and people are delighted when they see that name. Everybody loves an awesome 420 boner type thing. It's fine. We just talked about it. So,
should we put a Patreon stretch goal to post
post the boner chili? $5. Stretch goal is $5. So if everybody chips in a couple cents, I think we could make it.
Oh man. All right, I do have a quick recipe to throw by you.
Oh shit! I'm so sorry.
because
I realize I've been talking this whole time, and sorry. Go ahead. What's your recipe?
No. So I decided to incorporate Australia's favorite son, the
I can't wait
the
to find
Outback
out who
Steakhouse,
Sure, for
blooming
sure.
onion.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I figured I was gonna kind of use a blooming onion as kind of a baseline to do kind of a reverse Scotch egg. This is kind of a deconstructed Scotch
so
egg. Where
fucked up. Well, you know,
it's kind of
there's something about the soil in Australia allows them to grow bloomin' onions from the ground. So they're just fucking walking around in the bush, picking those off the ground and eating fully fried onions. I'm sure they love. I bet you almost anything. Hey, Australian listeners, let us know how much you love this. By the way.
Look,
do they know about
for some
this?
reason,
Sorry.
For some reason, the idea of like taking the center, like turning, like basically making petals out of an fried onion thing, to wrap around like a sausage core, and then put like a fried egg on top to pop on top of like, you know, the stewed spinach.
Yeah,
I was like, that seems like something that I would try once and be like, that's a bit much.
That's real fucked.
If anyone wants to try out the bloomin' onion reverse Scotch egg, it's to send pics.
Wow, that is that's fucked up, Niall, that you would say all that. But I
figured we're gonna end on a food crime. That's just I
love an occasional food crime. You know I love a food crime. It's very I find food crimes very entertaining. So yeah. Hey, Australian listeners, do you all out there know about the Outback Steakhouse?
I mean, I feel like they it's one of those things where you get told about it at some point where it's just like, the first time you meet an American and they say something stupid about Outback Steakhouse, your parents are like, oh yeah, that's like a restaurant in America, I guess, that they say is Australia themed. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's about as far as it goes.
Sorry, just speaking that out loud is really like laid bare the absurdity of the Outback Steakhouse for me in this moment.
It's a ridiculous concept. Like it's underrated for how fucking weird Outback Steakhouse is as a concept. Because like it's like a low key rainforest cafe and about Australia.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You know, here's the thing though. When I was young, chain restaurants were very popular. And I definitely ate there as a kid, and it's also my dad, when I was a kid, would always like mess with the names of things to try and make me laugh. Me and my sister,
a tried and true parental classic.
So I do believe that the Outback Steakhouse was the outhouse. From my dad.
Parents called it the outhouse.
The outhouse. It's very similar to calling it like Target is very funny.
My parents called Red Lobster Dead Gobster.
That's good. Here's our weird little one. The Texas Roadhouse, which is another chain restaurant that's themed around Texas. It's basically Outback Steakhouse but for Texas. By the way.
Yeah.
Which both of them are Rainforest Cafe likes.
And is Chili's for like Arizona or
is it?
Because it's Southwest food. Like the idea is like kind of Southwest Tex-Mex, so it's somewhere down there.
Yeah, you're right. So the Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah.
You fuck it up. Rex's Toad House. So anytime we were going to the Texas Roadhouse, my dad called it the Toad House. So
that's pretty good.
It's pretty good. Dead Gobster and the Toad House in the morning. 102.9 FM. Anyways, I think that's about a good time to wrap this one up.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take care of some business. So we've cut down a lot of this stuff, and I'm trying to remember.
It's mostly
exactly
Patreon we want to talk about, but we just look here. Let's kick this off. This new version of our business handling by saying you can find It Gets Weird podcast anywhere you can find podcasts. Look us up, and we're there. Spotify is the big one, it turns out, but you can find us on all your usual places. Give us a Google. Twitch.tv/itgetsweird. I've had an insane 2 weeks and haven't been streaming, but we'll be getting back to that as soon as my crazy weeks are over with. I'm getting back on it. I'm gaming. Don't you worry. We'll be back. Twitch.tv/itgetsweird. We also have itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. All the call outs to people this week about non-US listeners and their UFO knowledge, please hit us up, itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know how we should address you. Give us your name, whatever you want us to call you, and we might read it on the show. Number one thing, though, patreon.com/itgetsweird. Now, we do have a tip tier. It is a $1 tier. You just say, here's $1. Thanks for doing what you do. Appreciate the show. You can think of it like a tip jar that sits outside of the office of It Gets Weird Incorporated. We do, however, have $2 tier and a $5 tier. That's where you're going to get your bonus content. At the $2 tier, we have It Gets Weird TV, where Niall and I talk about weird television. Right now, we're in the back half of The X-Files Season 3. It's been a great ride. We're about to talk about my favorite episode, maybe of all time. So get on that ASAP. Check it out. But if that's not enough for you, we have a $5 tier. We're getting even more bonus content. That's where you're going to get World of Weird, where Niall and I talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about. If you like our tangents on the main show, it's basically an hour, sometimes an hour plus of us doing that. Sometimes it's also stuff that didn't make it onto the main show. Things like that. Lots of music and movie discussion, all kinds of stuff. So check it out. So that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck at the $5 tier. Huge back catalog of bonus content. Hundreds of hours, multiple years of us just doing podcasts. Check it out. Whether you donate to the $2 tier or the $5 tier, you get access to the main show 2 days early on Friday instead of Sunday. And you get access to the Discord where we're hanging out, chatting with our listeners getting together, talking about conspiracies, cryptids, all the crazy news that's been going on lately in that realm. So please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. But we understand if you can't donate, if maybe money's a little tight. We get it. Least you could do is tell some people about It Gets Weird podcast. Airdrop us in a bar or on the bus or something to strangers. Just really confuse the hell out of them. And tell friends and family who you think might enjoy the show about It Gets Weird podcast. So tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman all about It Gets Weird podcast.
Thank you all for listening. This has been It Gets Weird, and I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle, signing out.
Peace.